In the heart of the Jurassic jungle, where giant ferns tickled the bellies of clouds and volcanoes gargled lava like a grumpy old man with mouthwash, lived a Tyrannosaurus Rex named Barnaby. Now, Barnaby wasn't your average T-Rex. Sure, he had the massive teeth, the thunderous roar, and a tail that could knock over a redwood tree, but Barnaby had a secret struggle. A tiny, two-fingered struggle. His arms. They were, to put it mildly, comically small. Every morning was a new adventure in dexterity, or lack thereof. Take breakfast. For instance, Barnaby's latest obsession was pancakes. He'd seen a human in a time travel movie do it, and it looked so easy. So there he was, a giant T-Rex, wearing a comically large chef's hat, holding a frying pan the size of a small pond. He'd pour the batter in, watch it sizzle, and then came the moment of truth, the flip. He'd bend his knees, wiggle his hips, and with a mighty grunt, try to flick his wrist. The pancake would either fly straight up and land on his snout, or worse, it would somersault majestically through the air and land perfectly on the head of his best friend, Pip. Pip was a pterodactyl, a chipper, loyal friend with a wingspan that could cast a shadow over a small village. Nice one, Barnaby, Pip would squawk, batter dripping down his beak. Going for the head pancake technique today. Very avant-garde, Barnaby would just sigh, a gust of wind that rustled the leaves for miles. It's not funny, Pip. I just want to flip a pancake. Is that too much to ask? Pip would then try to help, using his beak to nudge the pancake, which usually resulted in it tearing into a sticky, doughy mess. Breakfast often ended with them just licking the raw batter out of the bowl. After their unique breakfast, it was time for games. Their favorite was hide and seek. Pip, being able to fly, was a master. He'd hide on top of the highest cliffs or inside the mouth of a dormant volcano. Barnaby, on the other hand, had a slight size issue. Okay, my turn to hide. He'd bellow, his voice echoing through the valley. Then he'd close his eyes and count to 100. Pip would patiently wait, preening his feathers. Ready or not, here I come, Barnaby would roar, opening his eyes. And there, right in the middle of the clearing, would be Barnaby's giant, scaly rear end sticking out from behind a very, very small fern. His head would be completely hidden, so in his mind, he was invisible. Pip would circle above, trying not to laugh. Gee, Barnaby, where could you be? Are you behind that microscopic leaf? It's a real mystery. Barnaby would pop his head out, a hopeful grin on his face. Did you find me? He'd ask. It was tough, Pip would lie. You're getting really good at this. One day, Pip flew in, flapping his wings with unusual excitement. Barnaby, Barnaby, you won't believe it. They're holding the first ever dinosaur Olympics. Barnaby's eyes lit up. The Olympics. A chance to prove he was more than just a clumsy giant with useless arms. There were events for everything. The Great Boulder Roll, the Vine Swing, the River Leap, and the grand finale, the prehistoric relay race. Barnaby signed up for everything. Pip tried to be supportive. The Boulder Roll, great choice, you just, sort of. Nudge it with your face, right? The day of the Olympics arrived. The entire prehistoric world was there. Stegosauruses munched on leafy snacks. Brontosauruses formed a living grandstand, and a panel of wise old triceratops served as judges. The first event was the Great Boulder Roll. The other contestants, huge Allosauruses and Carnotauruses, used their powerful arms and shoulders to push massive rocks down a hill. Then it was Barnaby's turn. He stared at the boulder. It was the size of his house. He took a deep breath, lowered his head, and sneezed. A massive, earth-shaking achoo. The force of the sneeze shot him forward, and he headbutted the boulder so hard it didn't just roll, it flew. It soared over the finish line, bounced off a cliff, and landed perfectly back in the starting position. The crowd was stunned into silence, then erupted in cheers. Barnaby, dizzy and with a large bump on his head, had accidentally set a new world record. Next was the Vine Swing. The goal was to swing across a wide canyon. The other dinosaurs gracefully grabbed the vines with their hands and swung across. Barnaby looked at the vine, then at his tiny hands. He knew he couldn't grab it, so he had an idea. He took a running start, opened his mouth wide, and bit the vine. He swung across the canyon, dangling by his teeth, his giant body spinning like a pinwheel. He landed in a heap on the other side, looking utterly ridiculous but successful. Pip flew over, dropping a congratulatory leaf on his head. The dental dangle technique, bold move, barn. The final event was the prehistoric relay race. It was a 4-part race involving a swim, a climb, a sprint, and a final, delicate task, carrying a pteranodon egg to the finish line. Barnaby was the anchor for his team. His teammates did great, and when it was his turn, they were neck and neck with the lead team. The final task was the egg carry. Barnaby's opponent, a speedy velociraptor, gently cradled the egg in its long-fingered hands and took off. Barnaby stared at the egg. It was so small, so fragile. How could he possibly carry it? His tiny arms couldn't even reach each other. He looked at Pip, who gave him a worried thumbs up with his wingtip. Barnaby took a deep breath. He couldn't use his hands. He couldn't use his mouth. He'd crush it. He looked down at his big, flat feet. Then he had the most ridiculous, most brilliant idea of his life. He gently nudged the egg with his snout onto the top of his left foot. Then he started to waddle. Slowly, carefully, like a penguin with a secret, he waddled towards the finish line, balancing the precious egg on his foot. The crowd was mesmerized. The velociraptor was fast, but it was also cocky. It kept looking back, laughing at Barnaby's strange shuffle. In its arrogance, it tripped on a root. The egg went flying, landing with a splat just meters from the finish line. All eyes were on Barnaby. He waddled on, his tongue stuck out in concentration. Step, shuffle, step, shuffle. The entire stadium was silent, holding its collective breath. With one final, triumphant waddle, his foot crossed the finish line, the egg still perfectly balanced. The crowd exploded. Dinosaurs of every shape and size roared and stomped their feet. Barnaby, the clumsy T-Rex with the tiny arms, was an Olympic champion. Pip swooped down and landed on his head. "You did it, Barnaby! You did it!" Barnaby carefully nudged the egg off his foot into a soft nest. He looked at his tiny arms, then at the gold medal of very large, shiny rock hung on a vine that the Triceratops judges were trying to place around his massive neck. He realized that maybe his arms weren't a weakness. They just made him think differently. They made him find his own unique and often hilarious way of doing things. From that day on, Barnaby was a hero. He never did master flipping pancakes, but he learned that true strength isn't about the size of your arms, but the size of your heart. And maybe, just maybe, the cleverness of your feet. Thanks for watching our story. If you loved Barnaby and Pip's adventure, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more fun tales from the prehistoric world. See you next time.